everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this episode of the How to Play Chess series, we will be covering one of my favorite tactics called the fork. So the fork, very much like the utensil that you will use when you eat, it has three prongs, and if you think about why it might be called the fork, you're obviously piercing food in most instances. In chess, it's very similar. It simply means that one piece is attacking two pieces at once. Normally a fork will have three prongs, but in this case, in the case of chess, one piece will attack two pieces at once. So I'm going to illustrate that to you first from black's perspective and then from white. But before we begin that, any piece can actually complete the tactic known as a fork. Even a pawn can, but we'll get to that in a minute. So with today's board position, you will see that black is up, let's see, two knights and a bishop, and white's about to be in a lot of trouble, and I'm going to show you exactly why. So for those of you that have watched the previous videos, you'll know that the knight is the only piece on the board that can attack without being attacked back, unless of course it's a knight to a knight. So if the knight here on e6, on the very next move, goes to g5, this is a very, very big problem for white. The king on h3 is now in check, and the knight on g5 is also attacking the queen. So again, going back to some of my previous videos and just reviewing what check is, when the king is in check, he has to move. He has to move or otherwise block the attack or capture the piece. In this particular position, white cannot capture the knight on g5. There's nothing to do. The king, I should say the king or queen or any other pieces can't block it. The only thing that can happen here, the only legal move, is the king has to move. So if the king moves, and it must, it doesn't really matter where, then what will happen on the very, very next move is black, I should say, there we go. So white moves away to safety, and black will be able to capture the queen on the next move. So best case scenario for black, worst case scenario for white, which is why it's really, really important as you start playing more and more games to think about avoiding positions that allow your opponent to complete a fork or to surprise you with a fork. My guess would have been, and this has happened to me in my own games, is white didn't even see this coming. White didn't see that the position of the king and queen was in such a place where the knight could come in between them, and now black has a significant advantage in this position. But like I said, the knight is my favorite piece, and I think the knight is a great piece to fork two other pieces with because of the way it moves and because you can't capture it back. But even a pawn can do it, any piece can. And to show you, if I now move the pawn on b2 one step forward, the pawn is now forking the bishop and the knight. Now this isn't ideal for black because black could capture the pawn, but it's undefended. So it's not ideal at all. And what happens when you're attacking two pieces at once, especially in check, one piece must move ordinarily, but black cannot save both pieces at once. So again, try not get into a position where your opponent is forking your pieces. Black can capture the pawn, but a bishop is more valuable than a pawn, so that's not ideal. But what you now need to think about is if black moves away to safety, say for example black says I'm going to save my knight, then white on the next move will be able to capture the bishop. So once again, if I just go one step back, I've now shown you what a fork with a knight will look like and what a fork with a pawn will look like. But again, definitely look out for these in your games. I should say, look for this in your games. You may be able to just look for opportunities where you can fork your opponent's pieces, because one great thing that it does, other than of course winning a queen or winning a major piece like a rook, is you are forcing your opponent to respond. They might have a fantastic move. For example, black might be wanting to move the queen closer to start checking white's king, but if you fork your opponent's pieces, you are essentially demanding a response, or otherwise they will lose material. So I hope you all really enjoyed this video and look for opportunities to fork your opponent's pieces in your next game. And of course, as I've said many times, try and avoid getting into that position yourself, because it can really make or break you in a chess game. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos. Bye.